Happy Friday. Let me start with the ridiculous and we'll move, hopefully, to the sublime. I ran across a note that Austin, our oldest son, left for me this is 15 years ago. I had been injured running, had been to the doctor, came back with the diagnosis of calcific tendinitis. And so Austin, who was running at the time, left this note. He said, calcific tendinitis is also known as extra calcium undersensitive epidermis, or excuse. It's a common disease that affects former athletes, mainly the fathers of true athletes. The most commonly affected are former runners who no longer can keep up with younger family members. Notable causes of excuse are eating other people's dust while trying to compete. Symptoms include overuse of mouth, especially when talking about running, and a loss of memory, which causes those suffering from excuse to exaggerate previous mileage and speed. Not long after that note, we began to discuss Austin paying rent if he wanted to continue to live in our house. I'm joking, sort of. But anyway, that sounds a little bit like the kind of prodding we find today in Hebrews chapter 12. Verses 4 through 11. We have been, yesterday I was speaking about joy because God's the most joyful being in the universe and we're commanded to rejoice, and joy is often misunderstood. You don't pursue it. The hedonists figured that out. You pursue pleasure and pretty soon nothing works. Pursue a life rightly lived, aligned with God. Pursue obedience, and joy is a byproduct. So we've looked at Hebrews 12, 1 through 3 several times. I want to move us on. So verses 4 through 11 talk about discipline. Let me pick up and start reading here. In your struggles against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding your blood. And have you forgotten the exhortation that addresses you as sons? And then this is a quote out of the Old Testament. My son, do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor be weary when reproved by him, for the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises every son whom he receives. End of quote. It is for discipline that you have to endure. God is treating you as sons. For what son is there whom the Father does not discipline? If you are left without discipline in which all have participated, then you are illegitimate children and not sons. Besides this, we have had earthly fathers who disciplined us and we respected them. Shall we not much more be subject to the Father of spirits and live? For they disciplined us for a short time as seemed best to them. He disciplines us for our good, that we may share his holiness. For the moment, all discipline seemed painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So, earlier this week, I mentioned that suffering is not because of punishment. If we are in Christ, there's therefore no condemnation for those of us. We do not get punished by God for our sin. It may be that we are suffering the consequences of our sin. It may also be that we are suffering because simply we live in a broken world and many things have gone wrong because of the general effect of sin. All of creation groans under sin. It could also be that we are under discipline. God disciplines those that he loves, those that are his children. Parents discipline children to help them figure out how life works and to grow in righteousness, to grow in right living so that life will work. So it sounds like sometimes God is like a coach pushing us, giving us hard things to do, not because they're hard and he wants us to suffer, but because there is good on the other side of that. So if you are suffering right now, and many of you are, if you are struggling under all kinds of challenges, whether they're physical or financial or emotional or whatever, it could be that these are consequences of sin. It could be that these are the result of living in a broken world. It could be that it's because God is refining you. And even if it's not sort of intentional refining, the kind of hardships that he has sent in order for us to be purified, He can always use things. What other people may mean for evil, he can use for good. So if you're suffering today, look for the way that this suffering can allow you to grow. Know that he is not punishing you. He loves you. He wants the best for you. That may mean that you're going through a difficult season in order to be refined like gold that will be even purer in the end. Have a good weekend.